Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we will learn about a very important concept with application in various fields like gaming, economics, politics, war, any association between two or more people where there's a possibility of gaining or losing as a result of the choices of the participants of this association. This concept is the game theory. We'll do an introduction to this concept in this video by highlighting key terminologies and talking about the brilliant minds behind the theory. The terms we will study in this video will form a foundation for everything that we'll explore in subsequent videos. So let's dive in. The word game may sound tricky, but game theory was not born in a chess club. It was born in the world of pure mathematics and economics. The field was formally proposed in 1944 by two intellectual giants. One of them was a mathematician, John Newman, and the other an economist, Oscar Morgenstern. They published a book called The Theory of Games and Economic Behavior. For Newman himself, he was a polymath, like a very, very intelligent man, often regarded as the last great mathematician. His initial work was on zero-sum games, where one person's gain is strictly another person's loss, like flipping a coin, head or tail, one person wins and the other loses. For all his brilliance, the early theory was a bit limited. It's assumed that for every winner, there had to be an equal and opposite loser. But the real world is not like that. It's more dynamic. Feel a situation where people can cooperate for huge mutual win or fail and cause a huge mutual loss. That's where John Nash steps in. You might know him if you have seen the movie The Beautiful Mind. John Nash was a brilliant but troubled mathematician. He took game theory and made it relevant to the 20th century. He focused on non-zero sum games where there is possibility for mutual win or mutual loss. He provided a solution concept for this type of games by deriving a point of stability where no one regrets their choices. This concept was named after him. It is called the Nash equilibrium, which we'll talk about in subsequent videos. Now, as stated earlier, we will give some key definitions in this video, and in subsequent videos we'll discuss with example the various concepts that are associated with game theory. The most important term in game theory is probably the player. The player is a strategic decision maker. It could be two friends deciding where to eat, two nations in trade disputes, or two companies that are vying for a particular market share. The players are the agents making decisions, they are the decision makers. A strategy is a player's complete plan of action, a roadmap for every choice he might have to make in a game. Payoff is the outcome or the reward in the game. It could be years in jail or even something abstract like satisfaction. In game theory, every player is assumed to be rational, meaning they will always choose the strategy that maximizes their personal payoff. Now, let's talk about game forms. Games are described in a couple of ways. We have strategic form or the extensive form. The strategic form uses payoff matrix, a simple grid showing strategies and payoff. This is applicable in simultaneous games where players choose their actions without knowing what their opponent is doing. The extensive form uses a game tree, a diagram that shows a sequence of moves. This was sequential games where players move in turns, like the game of chess. Now, zero sum games are strict competitions. There is usually no room for cooperation. Like, imagine two friends playing a game where the total number of points is fixed at zero. If one player wins 5 points, the other player must have lost 5 points. So the sum of their losses and gains is always zero, and that is why it is called a zero sum game. However, a non zero sum game is where the magic happens. This is where both players can win big or both can lose big. This is the reality of most economic and political situations. The most common example of a non-zero sum game is the prisoner's dilemma. Imagine two suspects arrested for a crime. They are held in separate cells, unable to communicate. The police offers each of them a deal. If you confess and your partner stays silent, you walk free and your partner gets 10 years. Now, if you both stay silent, you both get 1 year. If you both confess, you both get 5 years. Now, what is the rational choice here? Remember that if you stay silent and your partner confesses, you get the 10 years and your partner walks free. What does game theory predict will happen? When you analyze this situation, you find that two perfectly rational people acting in their own self interest will make a choice that is worse for both of them. Why is this? It is because of the next terminology we will learn, the dominant strategy. The dominant strategy provides a guaranteed win or least worst outcome. If you have a dominant strategy, you don't need to worry about predicting what your opponent's move might be. You just make your own move. In the prisoner's dilemma, confessing is the dominant strategy for both players, which leads to an equilibrium. This concept distinguishes games based on their objective and duration. Finite games have known players, fixed rules, and a clear endpoint. The objective of finite game is to win, and an example of finite game is chess. Infinite games have known and unknown players. The rules are changeable and there's no set endpoint. The objective of infinite game is to keep playing. And an example of infinite game is business. If you approach business as a finite game, you are optimizing for short-term profits. But if you approach it as an infinite game, your focus is on sustainability, innovation, long-term existence, even if you have to sacrifice sometimes short-term wins. Now, what do you think will happen when a finite player meets an infinite player? We'll talk about this in subsequent videos. Now, let's talk about the dollar auction game. This is a classic paradox that illustrates the psychological and rational forces that leads to escalation. The dollar auction shows how a sequence of individually rational decisions leads to a collective irrational disastrous outcome. It's not just about dollar bill, it reflects real world conflicts. It is perfect blueprint for escalation. It shows why nations get trapped in an endless arms buildup, why nations involve in costly military conflicts. It also explains why companies involve in costly business rivalry. It shows us how seemingly rational steps pave the road for mutual disaster. Why some people can't just walk away from certain conflicts. Finally, let's consider the prisoner's dilemma once more. The answer to the prisoner's dilemma is as a direct result of the most important concept in all of games theory, the Nash equilibrium. In our next video, we'll talk more about the Nash equilibrium, we'll discover how to find it and demonstrate its application in business, sports, and international relations. Thanks for watching this video, this introductory video. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.